everything adds up to 180, like you do 180.
No. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so if we're looking at this, okay, technically all of those would add up to 180. What they want us to do is order the sides of each triangle from shortest to longest. Now, I'm going to show you the legitimate way how to do that, and then I'm going to show you a cheater way, okay? You guys know me, I'm all about the short life. So, you need to start by looking at these. Jared, stop, you drive me nuts. You need to look at these and say, well, which angle is the smallest? Okay, of these numbers, which one is the smallest? 58. So we could even label this 1. It's the smallest one. Okay, what's the next smallest one? E, which is 59. And then obviously our F. So we have those labeled from smallest to biggest. Okay, so far not so hard. Trevor, what are you doing? Okay, I'll get your pencil. Don't worry about doing all that. Just set it out. You can do that later. Then you get behind. Okay, so technically, okay, if you were to label these angles, G is smaller than, E is smaller than F. Okay, but they don't want us to label the angles, they want us to label the segments. Okay, and so how you label a segment is to actually, so if you start at G, you would look at the opposite direction and label that segment. Okay, well, a segment is labeled by 2 parts. And so you would say EF, and we always put the line above because it's a segment, is smaller than, and then you look at the next smallest angle. Well, the next smallest angle is E, and so you draw a line straight across, and that's GF. So segment GF is smaller than, and the last one is F. Okay, and so you could say, well, this way. Okay, which is going to be GE. Now, I know it probably seems like a little bit complicated at this point because there's a lot. This is our legitimate answer. They want us to label the segments from smallest to largest. Okay, now there's an easier way to look at that rather than drawing arrows all over the place because that's kind of confusing. Okay, so write that one down, then we're going to look at the next one. Okay, what's the deal with segments? Do I have to say EF? What's another way I could say EF? FE. Okay, so segments do not matter if you say EF or FE. There's not a particular order as far as that goes. Okay, so let's look at 5. Okay, we know that same thing. What's the smallest angle? What's up? Oh, I'm sorry, honey. Kudos for telling me. Okay, look at 5. What's the smallest segment or angle? What's the smallest one? G. Okay, so label this one 1 because that way you'll be able to tell. What's the next smallest one? E. And the third? F. Okay, so there are 3 letters. This is the cheater way. Okay, there are 3 letters: G, E, and F. Okay, would you agree so far? What's the smallest one? G. So what 2 letters have you not used? If we're using G right now, what's the EF? So you could say EF as your first segment. Okay, instead of drawing the arrows, it's going to be whatever opposite that you have not used. What's the next biggest segment? E. So it's going to be GF or FG. It does not matter. What's the biggest segment? Yes, but so F is going to be our biggest one. So what have we not used? If we're using F right now, what's left? EG. Okay, or GE, it does not matter. Okay, the few things I'm going to nitpick about, you got to have the bar above. Okay, it means the segment. Okay, there are degrees given or the angles given, you have to label the segment. Okay, so you need to have the bar above it. And that's it. Okay, I think it's less confusing than drawing the arrow and going across, but if you like the arrow way, absolutely do it. Okay, I kind of just like to, whatever I'm using, put my hand over it and then put the other 2 down. If I'm using this one, put my hand over it, use the other 2. Okay, so look at 7. What's the smallest one? C, the next smallest one, A, and the next, B. Okay, so obviously we're gonna use one first. So if I'm using one, what two letters are left? BA. So it's gonna be BA. What's the next one? The next one we're using is 2 or A, and so BC is going to be the only thing left. So BC. Okay, and then the third one that we're going to have left is going to be B. Okay, and so it's going to be CA. Does it make sense? Yes, no? Huh?
I mean, it makes like, I understand how to do the process.
But like, what's the point?
Yeah, like.
I get it.
I
So,
would see it as like the smallest one going to the second one, and then, so it'd be like G, E, F, but like, that we're doing line segments, so like B, A is equal, like, so that equal, B, C, C.
so I would love to give you like a legitimate, like, oh yes, you're gonna need this, yada yada. The fact of the matter is you don't, which is why I'm only spending one day on it. So we'll do this today and today only. There's a difference though between an angle being the smallest and the lines of the sides being the smallest. Just because, and the only thing I can equate it to, just because a room in your house looks the smallest does not mean it's necessarily the smallest. So it's kind of uses the opposite of whatever the smallest is. What's up?
So if there's two that are the same, doesn't matter what order you put them in?
No, you would put them, they both need to go first and second place
Yeah.
when you write them, but either or doesn't matter. What's up, Jay? Yeah, so we're gonna do one of those. So go back to number 1. Okay, so these ones are a little bit, there's an extra step, but not much. Okay, so we know that a total triangle is gonna equal 180, okay? That's just a fact of life, all triangles equal 180. Okay, so on your calculator, phone, iPad, whatever, you're gonna type in 180 minus the other two angles, and that will give you that third one. So we always start with 180. Well, I know one is 35, and I know one is 105. And when you type that in, 180 minus 35 minus 105, it's gonna give you 40. So what is angle 40? Where does that go?
Y.
For Y. Okay, and then now the rest is just like what you've been doing. Okay? So we could still label those. What's the smallest one? Z, and then 40 is Y, and then this one would be the third one, third biggest one. Okay, so if I'm using Z, because I'm looking at the smallest first, then it's going to be YX. It's smaller than, I've used the first one, and so I'm going to use the second one, and it's going to be ZX. Okay, and then the third one is going to be X, so I'm going to say YZ. Bree, what are you doing? Staring off into space. You wrote it? Unfortunately, though, we are getting into the point this late in the year of the geometry that I think is not useful to you guys, given the fact that I know what the majority of where life is going to lead some of you guys. So I don't really think that this is relevant unless you are going to have some sort of career in math. Okay, and so we're kind of just stretching out the end of the school year. I don't want to put too much on it, too many tests, because then I don't want some of your guys' grades to drop. Okay? Next year's math is good for you, though.
What's next year's math?
So, depending on your program, you would take CCR, and if you're lucky, you go with me. We go look at apartments, we look at like how to budget, how to apply for credit cards, how to do your taxes, I hope you get a job, like
That's useful.
we look at writing checks, balancing, like taking out credit cards, interest, like how to get stuff from Rent-A-Center errands if you don't have like money to buy a new couch and furnish a place, like, it's just more, it's to set you up with life.
I'm happy I signed up for that instead of pre-calc.
So you're required to take 4 years of math. So in your freshman, junior, senior, sophomore year, so in your senior year, you can take pre-calc, calculus, or CCR. Depending on who teaches the CCR though, some people do like homeowners interest and mortgages. You're not gonna take out a mortgage at 18. You don't even have the credit for it. So like, that's kinda dumb. I would rather take you out, look at apartments, we talk about leases and like more useful stuff, how to get a car.
That's useful, though. I'm
I
happy-
think it is, like, I've been,
I'm happy I signed up